Welcome back to Leading Edge. I'm Jerry Anderson. Some 3 million Americans have epilepsy. It is a neurological disorder that causes seizures. People, I'm told, do die from epilepsy, and some 200,000 people become new epilepsy cases each year. I want to welcome back to Leading Edge Debbie Harmon-Ferentz. Also here is neurologist Dr. Peter Zangara, and Roy Cherry is the executive director of the Epilepsy Center of Northwest Ohio. Let's start with, you are not necessarily, you can be born with epilepsy, but not necessarily, and in your case, you were not.
Yes.
So where'd it come from?
When I was 18 months old, I had whooping cough, and I had a very high fever, and I started seizing, and I went into a coma.
At a year and a half?
Yeah, right.
So doctor, do we know what causes epilepsy?
Well, there's lots of things that cause epilepsy. People are born with it. People are injured, their brain's injured, like infection when they're young, injuries to the brain like trauma, strokes, hemorrhages, aneurysms. Anything that damages the brain can cause a seizure.
Is there a genetic connection?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, there are many genetic epileptic syndromes. And as time goes on, we're discovering more and more of them.
I was reading about your center, Roy, that the center encourages activities, I'm going to quote here, for the prevention and treatment of epilepsy. This could be prevented?
I mean, the prevention of it would be more of the controlling of the epilepsy with anti-seizure drugs. I don't know that prevention can truly be accomplished, but it could be controlled for a long time, and the doctor could certainly attest to this, over a long time with medication, and some people may never experience another seizure again if it's controlled by medications.
The primary force of treatment is medication?
Medication, yeah, many cases.
Okay. Let me get back over to your situation. You did medication?
Oh, yes, I did medication.
And you continued to seize?
Right.
How often would that happen for you?
As I got older, when I was younger, I had a lot of seizures, grand mal seizures. And then as I got older, I was having petite mal seizures. But I always knew I had the auras, like I had said before. But my seizures were never totally under control. It didn't matter how much medicine I took, I still had seizures.
But there's a word for that, when you can't control with medicine. You gave it to me earlier. Somebody who you can't control it with just medicine.
Intractable epilepsy.
There we go. So then she would be the perfect case. Because I wondered at the time, I thought, man, that sounds so darn aggressive. You're going in there taking out a part of the left temporal lobe.
Yes.
And you say it's aggressive, but that is the treatment when it's not responding to medication.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, that was the treatment many years ago. It still is a treatment. Now we have other interventions that aren't quite as aggressive. For instance, we have vagal nerve stimulators, where we'll actually stimulate the vagus nerve to stop the epilepsy. And many patients have those, and those that are not successful may go on to surgery. Some people go directly to surgery, particularly if you can localize where the seizure is coming from, and it's a small area of the brain, and it's easily accessible. And then they like to remove that focus, and patients do very well once the surgery is done.
One of the many things I love about doing this show is I learn something. Every week when I have these smart guests on here who can help me out. Is that part of what the Epilepsy Center is doing in terms of educating a community as well?
Absolutely, and that's part of what we love to do in Northwest Ohio here, is educating the community, telling them about the different options that there are, and just making sure that people know that if things are not controlled by medications, there's other options, and we can direct them in a certain way. And we can also bring people together as a support we have a family camp every summer that gets together, and a lot of people come together sharing the same challenges. And if they're going through a procedure like Debbie did, and how that experience affected her, and other people can get good information. So we just try to connect the community together.
Debbie, the amazing Debbie. And I say that because she's written a book about it, and it's sitting right over there on my desk, and I meant to have it here on this table. And then I found out you're the one that gave her the moniker Amazing Debbie.
Well, yeah, during one of her visits, only because she did so well.
Yeah.
She was remarkable.
What kind of response are you getting to your book right now, Debbie?
Very good, very good. I have friends, seriously, I have global friends all over the world. I was telling you the other day that a lady got in contact with me, and she's coming to town for her son's, in Kalamazoo, for her son's wedding. Yeah. And she wants me to come, she wants to meet with me.
That's very, very cool. You would love to see that book, and so would I, in every library in this country, so that everybody can have access to it. I want to do a couple of things here because you have events coming up, and then I want to come back to something dealing with the stigma of epilepsy. But you have an upcoming public talk that I think that a lot of you, if you have any interest in this area, we're taking a look at the details right there. It is at the main library downtown Toledo, coming up next Thursday, the 12th, 6:30 p.m. open to the public, and we'll have a book signing going on as part of that. Who should be turning out for this?
Excuse me?
Who should be turning out for this?
I would say anyone that needs to educate themselves, wants to be educated about epilepsy. Anyone that has family that has seizures, anyone that, just, I think everyone should actually. So many people don't understand epilepsy. That's the problem. It's an ignorance, I think. And they don't mean to be ignorant about it when someone has a seizure, but they don't understand it. So they just ignore it. They don't understand epilepsy.
Well, we do that a lot in society, don't we?
Sure.
If we don't understand something, we ignore it. We don't
But
talk
it's
about
the
it.
fourth most common neurological problem.
Oh, it's amazing. You guys at the Epilepsy Center, now you, on the other hand, have a very well-known, it's become a Toledo tradition later, or should I say Perrysburg tradition, since that's where it's at. But you know what I'm talking about. It's Practically a Golf Tournament. It is so much fun. I've been involved with it, and here that's coming up Friday, May the 20th at the Clock Tower. You know the famous Clock Tower over at Levis, folks. A couple of flight times, noon and 2:30 in the afternoon, and you can get in for as low as $40 for the individual. What is fun is to get a team together, though.
Oh, it is.
And you're playing some of the most unique holes known to mankind.
It definitely is, and it's practically a golf tournament. It means exactly that. It is 18 holes, putt-putt holes, that are built by local builders here. And Penta Career Center has submitted a new hole every year for the past 5 years, and the kids do an amazing job and helps us raise money in the community, stays in Northwest Ohio to help us do the education and the family camps and things that revolve around educating the community about epilepsy.
And it's a good, it's competitive too.
Oh, it definitely is.
Because you're going to
People-
take, what did I read? You take the top 3 scores from each team on each hole or
Yep.
something like
oh,
that.
yeah, and the 2 flights, and then they get a trophy at the end. The whole team gets a little plaque for.
How many years has that been going on?
Actually, it's
A
been
lot.
going on since 1989.
Yeah,
They've been
I
doing
was
the
gonna
Epilepsy
say.
Center's been doing it for that long.
A long time.
Yep.
So that's coming up later on in the month. You can see Debbie downtown at the main library coming up on Thursday, the 12th. I want to get back to how are we doing at reducing the stigma of do we all agree that epilepsy carries a stigma? How are we doing on reducing or attacking that stigma?
I mean, I think we keep trying and keep pushing for that. I mean, that is part of the mission of the Epilepsy Center, is to improve the lives of people affected by epilepsy. By doing that, by educating the community and getting out there more. We've spoke with Toledo Public Schools, to all their nurses, to educate them about the children who have epilepsy and the situations they have. But there's a lot of work left to do for that stigma.
From either of you two, how are we doing on the stigma?
I agree. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because just over the last month, I've met a doctor that's very well known that has epilepsy, and he doesn't talk about it. I've met a teacher that had to retire because her seizures were so bad. People don't, and I mean, people of all classes have epilepsy.
That's
People
right.
just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we do here on this program, but I couldn't do it without the help of these wonderful people. My thanks to Debbie Harmon Ferentz. Pick up her book. It's amazing, Debbie. The full title.
My Secret Before and After Brain Surgery.
My Secret Before and After Brain Surgery. Dr. Peter Zangaran, neurologist, Roy Cherry from the Epilepsy Center, keeping us all on the leading edge of living with epilepsy. And I'm going to be right back.